The Blackwood Manor, a monument to a forgotten era of Gothic grandeur, stood sentinel against the encroaching twilight, its silhouette a jagged skeletal finger pointing towards the heavens. Lara, a woman of pragmatic intellect and unwavering skepticism, inherited the estate, a legacy she'd always considered a burdensome relic of a past she'd rather forget. The place reeked of damp earth, the lingering scent of decay, and an almost palpable sense of unease, a weight that pressed down on her like a physical entity. Yet amidst the decaying opulence, one collection stood out, a macabre jewel in the manor's crown: the doll cabinet. It was a towering piece of mahogany, its glass panels reflecting a distorted, elongated version of Alara herself, and within its depths, a legion of antique dolls stared back with glassy, unnervingly lifelike eyes. They were exquisite, each a masterpiece of porcelain and lace, their delicate features and intricate costumes a testament to a bygone era of craftsmanship. But their beauty was tainted by a subtle, unsettling sentience, a silent, malevolent watchfulness that sent shivers down Alara's spine. Jester with his painted grin and mismatched eyes, the soldier, stern and rigid in his miniature uniform, the ballerina, poised in an eternal pirouette. Their presence filled Alara with a primal dread she couldn't explain, a feeling that something was deeply, fundamentally wrong. The whispers began subtly, a rustle of silk, a faint, almost childlike sob that seemed to emanate from the cabinet when she passed, a sound that was both haunting and disturbingly intimate. She attributed it to the old house settling, the creaks and groans of a structure burdened by time, the wind whistling through the drafty halls. But the doll's eyes followed her, their glassy depths reflecting a distorted, elongated version of her own. Fear, a fear that was slowly, insidiously taking root in her soul, a fear that was beginning to consume her from the inside out. The dreams began, insidious and vivid, a grotesque puppet show where the dolls acted out scenes of unspeakable cruelty. The butcher, with his miniature cleaver, dismembered tiny porcelain versions of her loved ones, their screams echoing in the suffocating silence of her mind, a symphony of terror that played on an endless loop. The nurse, her porcelain face stained with a crimson hue that resembled dried blood, left trails of cold, damp cloth wherever she walked, a chilling reminder of the fragility of life and the inevitability of death. The ballerina danced a macabre ballet, her tiny feet tapping a silent, rhythmic dance on the polished floor, a dance that seemed to echo the frantic beating of Alara's heart, a rhythm that was slowly driving her towards the edge of madness. The doll's influence spread beyond the cabinet, a creeping tendril of malevolence that permeated the very air she breathed, a silent, unseen force that was slowly warping her reality. Scratches, forming cryptic symbols that resembled ancient runes, appeared on the walls, symbols that seemed to writhe and shift when she looked away, symbols that whispered dark secrets in a language she couldn't understand. Cold spots lingered in the rooms, accompanied by the cloying scent of decay and old perfume, a smell that clung to her nostrils like a phantom limb, a constant reminder of the presence of death. Alara found small, meticulously crafted effigies of herself, made from scraps of fabric and human. Hair hidden beneath her pillows, their glassy button eyes staring up at her, with a chilling, knowing gaze, a silent accusation that echoed in the darkness of her room. The manor, once a symbol of her grandmother's eccentric wealth, became a labyrinth of terror, each room a stage for the doll's silent, malevolent play, a theater of horrors where Alara was both the audience and the unwilling participant. Alara driven by a growing sense of dread and a desperate need to understand the source of the unsettling. Phenomena delved into her grandmother's journals, hoping to find some explanation for the dark secrets that lurked within the manor's walls. Beatrice, a woman shrouded in mystery, was revealed to be more than just eccentric. She was deeply disturbed, consumed by a dark obsession, a madness that had twisted her perception of reality. She believed the dolls were conduits for lost souls, children who had perished tragically within the manor's walls, their lives cut short by illness, accidents, or the cruel indifference of fate, their spirits trapped in a limbo between worlds. She had performed rituals, binding their spirits to the porcelain shells, believing she was offering them sanctuary, a twisted act of maternal protection, a desperate attempt to hold on to the innocence that had been stolen from them. but the rituals had twisted their innocence, turning them into vengeful entities. Their childlike souls warped by grief and rage, their desire for solace transformed into a hunger for retribution. The journal contained disturbing drawings, sketches of the dolls with elongated limbs, extra joints, and human teeth, their porcelain faces contorted into grotesque masks of silent screams, their eyes burning with a malevolent light. Some drawings depicted the dolls in acts of unspeakable violence, their tiny hands wielding miniature instruments of torture, their glassy eyes filled with a predatory hunger, a hunger for the life force of the living. The whispers intensified, becoming a cacophony of children's voices, each filled with rage and despair, their words echoing through the halls, a chorus of tormented souls, a symphony of suffering. They spoke of betrayal, of being trapped, of their hunger for living flesh, their desire to escape their porcelain prisons, to break free from the bonds that held them captive. They wanted Alara to join them, to become one of them, a porcelain prisoner in their gilded cage, forever bound to their silent, malevolent dance, a macabre ballet of torment. The dolls began to speak in unison, their voices a chilling, discordant symphony of childlike rage. But the words they spoke were not of children. They spoke in ancient tongues of beings that existed before man, of dark pacts and forgotten rituals of entities that lurked in the shadows waiting for their moment to reclaim. What was theirs? Entities that had manipulated Beatrice and now sought to manipulate Alara? The manor, once a grand testament to Victorian opulence, became a nexus of dark energy, a conduit for the doll's malevolent desires, a gateway to a realm of shadows and nightmares. Alara, armed with her grandmother's journal and a desperate resolve to break the cycle of horror that had consumed the manor, attempted to break the binding ritual, to release the tormented souls trapped within the porcelain shells, to send them back to where they belonged. The dolls, sensing her intent, turned on her, their porcelain faces contorted in silent screams, their glassy eyes burning with a predatory hunger, their tiny hands reaching out to grasp her, to pull her into their world of porcelain and pain. Clara, their leader, moved with an unnatural speed, her porcelain limbs clicking in worry like a macabre clockwork mechanism, her eyes glowing with an eerie light. The other dolls swarmed her, their tiny hands reaching, their porcelain fingers digging into her flesh, their silent screams echoing through the halls, a chorus of torment. The room began to change, the walls seeming to melt the floor, becoming a sea of grasping porcelain hands. The air thick with the scent of decay and old perfume, the very fabric of reality warping and twisting around her. The dolls grew, their forms elongating, their faces contorting into grotesque masks of rage, their eyes burning with a malevolent light, their shadows stretching and twisting like living things. Alara, trapped in their nightmarish embrace, realized, too late, that the ritual could only be reversed with a blood sacrifice. A life for a life, a soul for a soul. The dolls wanted hers, her life force to fuel their escape, to break the bonds that held them captive, to allow them to roam free in the world of the living. The room filled with the sounds of breaking porcelain and tearing flesh, the screams of the dolls echoing through the halls, a chilling symphony of torment, a macabre opera of death. Alara knew she could not win. She could only delay the inevitable to buy time, to find some way to break the cycle of horror that had consumed the manor, to prevent the darkness from spreading beyond its walls. As the dolls began to tear at her flesh, the room became deathly silent, the screams fading into a chilling hush, a silence that was more terrifying than any scream. The dolls stopped, their heads turning towards the mahogany cabinet, their glassy eyes fixed on a new presence, a new horror. A new doll sat within, one made of flesh and bone, with eyes that held the same dark hunger as the others. A doll that had once been Alara, now a porcelain prisoner in their gilded cage, forever bound to their silent, malevolent dance. The manor stood silent, its dark history sealed within its walls, the dolls, remaining their porcelain faces forever locked in a silent scream, their glassy eyes reflecting the endless cycle of terror, a testament to the darkness that lurked within. No word. And within the cabinet, a new doll waited, its eyes reflecting the same dark hunger as the others. A silent testament to the horror that had consumed Blackwood Manor, a horror that would continue to consume any who dared to enter its cursed halls. The echoes of the children's tortured souls and the ancient dark voices continued to fill the house. Even though the children and Alara were gone, a constant reminder of the dark pact that had been made. The house itself had become a doll, and the land around it a dollhouse, and the dark things that waited are now the children at play. Their games a macabre reenactment of their own torment. They would wait and they would play until the next victim entered their dollhouse. Until the next soul was trapped within their porcelain prisons. Until the next chapter of their dark story was written.